Hello and welcome to this series, number 4 of my reviews of poetry pamphlets. And today I'm going to be looking at this one. It's by Richie McCaffery. It's called First Hare. It's published by Mariscat Press. And they are mainly short poems in plain language. There's often a narrative, but most of them do more than just tell a story. There's an emotional charge, a mystery, an imaginative space to fill, new angles to look into reality from. Or perhaps sometimes they draw out something that at first seems hidden. There's little use of irony, surrealism, elliptical tangents, all these things that are in vogue in poetry at the moment. But I never got bored the way I often do with anecdotal poems. There's more to those than just anecdotes. He writes in a similar style throughout. There's a consistency of voice and sensibility. The poems are often about family, human fallibility and frailty, village characters. Many of the poems are self-deprecating or consider the difficulties and losses that people have in life. In the poem Crackers, the narrator's cracker pops, but the gift can't be found. It says at the end it was either lost under the huge dresser or the cracker empty from the start. And he's talking about more than the gift inside the cracker, but something innate in who he is. And I wondered whether the poems were going to slip into a diet of that kind of mild melancholy you often get in poems, but they resisted doing that for the most part. There are poems about quite dark things in here, about alcoholism, for example, and the desire to erase oneself with drink and other methods, and how that desire can be inherited in different ways. The poems consider ordinary lives, why they matter, how they can be affected deeply by hardship, often through generations, but also how strength and humility can be given and passed on too. In Grandfathers, the first part of that poem, we read, "As a child, I used to ask him about his role in the war. He'd been in North Africa. He'd pretend he hadn't heard. If I asked again, he'd sit me on his knee and sing a cradle song in Arabic. He let me use his medals to make stars in my plasticine." And you can see how this is more than just narrative, with those small details. It's what's not being said. It's the attitude to the medals, the silence over the war, the song in Arabic, the bond between the generations. There's a reimagining of the world going on here, and in other poems, there's a wish, I think, that value could be conferred on those day-to-day ordinary moments, far more than in, vapid celebrity juice. We're stuck in a world where the successful have fewer facets than their whisky glasses, McCaffery writes in Sequel. And I think much of the reimagining that these poems envisage is encapsulated in the final poem, Cedar of Lebanon, which is possibly my favourite in the publication. It goes like this. Cedar of Lebanon. We walk all the way uphill through Wooler to get to the giant Lebanese cedar. I could be a pilgrim if it's a journey to a special tree and nothing more. You recall the great groves in Lebanon as we stand under its huge prickly umbrella, gathering cones hard as green grenades that we take away to try and grow elsewhere, to be thrown into the future and explode in mushroom clouds of resinous canopies. And I could be a soldier if it only involved this task and nothing else.